Hello, this will be my video self-reflection for video number 2 over the case with Jason. I'll hop right in. So how was I able to apply my knowledge of the theory when or during my skill video? So the first thing I did when working with Jason was I tried to identify his schema. And what I mean is sort of the different biases or maybe his feelings regarding the world around him in relation to his accident. I did that by asking specific questions related to his accident, and more specifically, I asked him how he may feel about certain activities or certain things related to maybe water or water activities, and also different areas because I wanted to see if his his panic symptoms were indeed unique to the water accident, or if maybe it was a problem that may also have other origins or may affect other aspects of his life. And then another tenet that I tried to adopt throughout my video was I wanted to find out sort of what Jason believed about some of his accidents and some of his beliefs behind maybe his fear of water, and for some of the physical panic symptoms that he has when thinking about water and water activities. I'm looking down just at my notes for a moment. And just to further on that, I just try to do my best to find out what he was thinking when responding to certain stimuli. An example would be, hey Jason, when you're driving by a body of water, and you start to get those feelings of panic, the perspiration, increased heart rate, shortness of breath, what's going on in your mind? How is what you're thinking affecting what you're doing or how you're feeling? And that's just a major tenet of cognitive behavioral theory, from what I understand, because one of the major tenets is deciding how your mental processes affects your behavior. And I thought that was a really good way to try and evaluate how Jason thinks about his behavior and so on. Let's see. Some of the strengths that I think I used was that I was able to use client-friendly language throughout throughout the video. I just tried my best to use language that was easy to understand, and I didn't try and use any hyperbole or any colloquialism of any kind to try and on the account that I didn't want to confuse Jason, and I didn't want to say something that may be interpreted as offensive or something like that. Another strength I think I was able to display was patience. I think I was just really great at sitting down and giving my complete and full attention to Jason. And I think what that does is that helps the client feel more comfortable and is more likely to have them open up to you because they feel that someone is really there to listen to them and really cares about what they have to say. Another strength I think I did was I did a really great job of educating the clients, not only when we were talking, maybe in the beginning of the video, but while we were going through our ABC model intervention. I think I did a good job of explaining what the model was, the difference between the A, the B, the C, and then I think I did a good job of helping Jason to identify his activating events. In my video, I believe it was of Jason driving by a body of water. Additionally, I think I did a great job of explaining the B of the ABC model, and then asking Jason specific questions related to the accident and his daily life and how he thinks about certain panic symptoms to try and figure out what his beliefs were regarding his activating event. And I think I did a great job, lastly, explaining the consequences or the C of the ABC model, in helping Jason to identify some of the consequences. The consequences that I can remember were Jason's increased heart rate, his shortness of breath, perspiration, and nausea. And I helped Jason to identify those and to kind of explain maybe why he's feeling that way. And I think I did a great job of just educating him on that. Okay, and so that was my answer to question number 1. I'm going to go into question number 2 now. Use of my required intervention skills and strategies highlighted in the video. How I specifically use, or how did you specifically use the intervention? So how I was able to use the ABC model intervention with Jason, it was very simple. I just made a brief ABC model on a piece of paper because I wanted to show what it would be like to create one, or how to what preparation would be needed, because I encouraged Jason to fill out his own ABC model at the conclusion of our event, or of our intervention. So what I did, I just made a simple ABC on a piece of paper, and then I just talked to Jason about what events it may come up in his life to make him feel those consequences of panic. And the way I did it was, the first thing I did was ask about the activating event or activating events and trying to figure out what those were. And then I went to consequences, so that it may be easier for Jason to connect a consequence with a belief rather than an activating event with a belief. And I just thought and it's easier for me to understand too. But then, after going over consequences, I would go over beliefs and ask Jason certain questions, and ask about why he may believe a certain thing about an activating event, or asking certain questions on his feelings of panic, just to try and educate him about what he may not know about himself, and to educate myself about what I don't know about what he's going through and what he's thinking. Okay, and one sec. Oh, I got lost. I'm so sorry. The strengths of how I applied this intervention with the client, I think one of the strengths of applying the intervention was the use of client language again. Just making sure to use client or language that was easy to understand. I made sure to speak slowly, and I made sure not to use any euphemisms or maybe slang, so that the client would limit any confusion, and just I would be easier to understand. Another strength that I already talked about this, but I think I did a really good job of educating the client about the ABC model, and specifically what the A, B, and C was in that model. I asked follow-up questions after educating Jason about each thing, and made sure that he understood it fully before I would move on to each thing. And I think I did a really good job of just making sure that any questions that he may have could be answered by me, and that he wouldn't have any confusion about the exercise or anything like that. And let's see. An additional strength that I think I was able to utilize in the skill video was that I built a skill chart, or I built an ABC chart that was specific to client problems. I didn't try to overgeneralize what was going on in Jason's situation. Each activating event was specific to his scenario. So our activating event was driving by a body of water, and then his belief systems were fear of death or fear of drowning, and just a fear of harm. And then a C was his increased heart rate, shortness of breath, perspiration, and nausea, as I said before. I think I just did a good job of making it really specific to Jason, and not overgeneralizing or bringing concepts that weren't relevant to our time together or Jason's accident. Okay, and I'm actually now going to move into our third question. How my professional or conscious use of self with the client in this video, how I use that. Well, the first use of self I'd like to talk about is just empathy. I think that I learned at a really young age to just really give people the time of day. Really stop, ask how someone's doing, what they're doing, how their family is. Just really give the impression that you're invested in what they have to say. Make them feel like you really do, have a great interest in what they're trying to say. And I think I did a good job of that. I think I did that by expressing a lot of patience when talking with Jason, by using a lot of reassuring statements such as, well, yes, I can imagine, being fearful of that after what you've gone through, things of that nature. Another strength that I used when working with Jason is our use of self is that I was very straightforward with Jason. And I think I'm like that very much in my own life. I don't like to beat around the bush. I didn't try and sugarcoat what was going on or some of the symptoms Jason had expressed to me because I don't think that is effective in a clinical environment. I want it to be very straightforward. We both get a lot more out of it, and I think we save a lot of time in doing that. And I think it just makes Jason feel more comfortable. He understands that we're going to be straightforward. We're going to be honest with what we're thinking and what we have to say, so that we can just get it out in the open together and talk about it, discuss it, and then work on a plan together. And then my final strength for the situation is sort of strange, but it is a strength that I've actually had a similar water accident happen to myself. When I was about 8 years old, this is really silly, but when I was about 8, I was swimming under, this is a genius idea, I was swimming under a paddle boat at some youth group function, and as I was swimming under it, the water was really dark and murky, and I was swimming under it through the water trying to get past it, and I came up too soon and I slammed my head really hard on the bottom of this paddle boat. And, I started to panic really. I was really scared that I was going to drown or die, and my head was in incredible pain. And so I somehow was able to find the top, and I just sort of walked myself out from under it. And then I came to the surface, but I was, desperate for air, and it was just terrifying. I'd never experienced anything like that. And so I think that was a strength, though, in that since I have experienced something really oddly similar to that, it helped me to, it sort of helped me know what to ask, and it gave me a really great understanding of what Jason was going through. While all of our situations are unique, I think it gave me a strength versus someone who had not experienced something like that. So I think it was really helpful for me to understand sort of what Jason was going through and to have that perspective that I do. Let's see. And what were the strengths of using my use of self and effective responses with their client? As I've talked about a lot, I was careful to be sensitive and to use client language. And what I mean by that is I was careful not to phrase things in a way that may be hurtful to Jason. An example would be, so I hear you sweat a lot when you're by the water. Do you sweat through your clothes or something? I tried to refrain from that. Or, oh yeah, I bet you're gonna pass out when you're probably heaving up one when, you get really nervous around the water, something like that. That's sort of an extreme example, but I think it's relevant to our situation. I, was really careful to be very respectful and, again, straightforward with what was going on with Jason to limit any confusion that we may have and to limit the possibility that he may be offended by something I have to say. And then, let's see, I already explained the accident. Like I said, I thought having experienced that accident on my own was a huge strength because it gave me that perspective to ask the right things. And I think it gave me the right feeling when working with Jason since I had gone through something so similar. And lastly, I think empathy was a really big strength of mine. Not only was I able to try and calm Jason down about the situation, I tried my best to make Jason feel more hopeful as well. Not only about the situation that had already happened to him, but moving forward. You know, giving him the reassurance that when he comes into these situations in the future, when near water or thinking of water, you know, giving him the strength and the courage that he will be all right, and that he will be able to make these panic symptoms more manageable, and eventually he'll be able to return back to the water. You know, he'll be at full strength, mentally and physically, to be able to resume water activities again. So I think those are my biggest strengths, of being sensitive to the client, using my own perspective from my own accident, and then my use of empathy. I think those are my major strengths there. Okay, well, I think that's it. Thank you very much.